Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's tutorial we are going to be making a set of mouse ear headbands. So these are going to be special because they're not going to be like anything that you can purchase inside one of the Disney stores. Now Madison absolutely loves Bo Peep. Who doesn't, right? She stands up to the world. She's absolutely fabulous. So we are going to be making a set that imitates Bo Peep, and I'm really excited about it. So if this is the first time we're meeting, my name's Mary with Sewing for Madison. So I'm excited about this project because we get to use some fun in the hoop materials that I've never used before. This is going to be one of the materials that I'll be using. This is for the sheep side of the mouse ears, and it's like a lamb's wool. I've never used this in the embroidery machine before, but we have some special stabilizers that we're going to be using in conjunction with this to help us keep this nice and embroidered on. So I'm really excited about that. One side is going to be a sheep side. The other side of the ears is going to be a kind of a Bo Peep inspired clothing. You'll see that in a few minutes. Our middle part of our mouse ear headbands is going to be a 3D stuffed bow that we're going to be making in the hoop. I've chosen this glittery fabric that I have never worked with before also. It's like a silk scarf almost, and it's going to make a terrific bow. The other materials that we're going to be using today is different faux leathers, all different colors and thicknesses. And besides the headband, I have also a little lantern that is Bo Peep mouse inspired as well. So this is going to be several different hoopings. I'm very excited. So let's get started in the project today. Okay, so we are ready to begin our first step, and our first step in this design is going to be the placement stitch. Alright, now the next step is going to be two parts. So we are going to be inserting a little thin piece of cardboard. This is actually just from an envelope, if you guys recognize this envelope. And this is to help the ear stand up. The last thing we want is for the ear to flop over once it's on the headband. So by adding this really thin piece of cardboard, it's going to help it stand straight up. So I'm going to do this part next, and I'm actually going to just back up and repeat that last step. Okay, so before I move on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my utility scissors. You do not want to use your fabric scissors for this, and I'm going to trim around all of that cardboard. This is going to save a little bit of hassle later on, so I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have the cardboard all trimmed up, and our next step is going to be to put our lamb's wool on top. So I'm going to just take this out of the hoop so it'll be a little bit easier for me. This is a really thick piece of lamb's wool. Okay, so I have that right on top. The next thing I'm going to put on top is this water-soluble stabilizer. This is a stabilizer that you would put on anything that has a very high pile. That means high looping, such as towels. Obviously, this lamb's wool is very thick. This is going to help our stitches stay on top of the fabric and not get sucked in on the inside. So I'm going to put it on this step so that it adheres nice, so that when we do the lamb's faces in a few minutes, everything should turn out as I expected it to. So I'm going to pop this back in. Be really careful to make sure that it all goes underneath the end. Okay. I'm just using my fingers here as a guide. perfect. Alright, so I know that water-soluble stabilizer got bundled up here a little bit. That's okay. It's not a big deal. I don't really care too much. So what I'm going to actually do is grab one of my quilting clips, and I'm just going to tack this down right here so that it stays out of the way as I continue on with the project. I'm just going to put one over here too. Okay, great. Now we are ready to do the sheep's faces. So I'm going to change out my thread and we will continue on with their faces. Okay, so our next part of this design is going to be finishing out the sheep's faces. So I've chosen a light cream color. I know that my lamb's wool is white and I wanted to have a little bit of contrast with the top part of the head. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out the rest of the faces. Okay, so we have the sheep's face finished and it came out absolutely perfect. The next step is going to be the last stitch, and that is on the back side of this. So we're going to flip this over, and I'm using just a white faux leather that is a standard PU. It doesn't have a whole lot of texture to it. It's pretty thin. So I'm going to put that over the back here and tape that down. Okay, and we're ready to pop it back into our machine. Okay, we have it all finished. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this out. We'll see how we did. Alright, so we have our first side of our ear done. I'm really happy with the way it came out. I did give the wool a little bit of a trim up in here at the top just because it was too fluffy. So I left the bottom pretty fluffy, didn't touch that at all, just trimmed up here on top of the heads. Came out awesome. Let's go on to make our bow sheep part. Okay, so now we are ready to do the bow sheep side of our mouse ears. So I have a variety of different faux leathers that we'll be using for this project. We are going to use the same white PO that we put on the back of the other ears. And then I have just a few scraps that we're using. So I've got a glittery pink, the light blue, and then a skin color. In this one, I also did not mention the first time, but we are using a 2.5 ounce cutaway stabilizer, and I'm also using a standard needle size. That's 11/75 needle. You don't have to use a special leather needle when you're using faux leathers in an embroidery machine, because the leather needles actually have a cutting edge to them, and with the faux leathers it actually destroys the material. So just make sure that you never use those type of needles with your faux leather in the hoop projects. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this, and we'll see how this one turns out. Okay, so we have the Bo Peep ear all finished up. I'm gonna go ahead and trim all the strings and get this cut out, and let's see how it comes together. Okay, so far we have 2 of the ears all finished, and we are gonna make the bow now to go in the middle. So I'm really happy how this has turned out. So let's get started on that puffy bow. This is done all in the hoop with a little bit of hand sewing at the end. Okay, so now we are ready to do that puffy bow that goes in the middle of the mouse ears. Again, we're using that silk material that is a little bit sparkly. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Now, for this project, we need our 5x7 hoop, and we need to use tearaway stabilizers. So I already have that ready to go, and we're going to get started with the machine. Okay, that was our placement stitch. I'm just going to trim that extra string off. Now, because this is a silk-like material, I don't want it to slip in the hoop. So I'm actually going to use a basting spray and use a little bit of tape. Alright, that spray is actually holding really good. I'm not going to use the basting tape or any tape on it, so that looks really secure. Now we're going to do the bow details. Okay, now we are ready to put the back piece of fabric on. I'm going to go ahead and just trim that string. Alright, and I'm going to use basting spray again on the back of the hoop, just so that this does not move. Okay guys, I have our bow pieces done, and this is going to go around the center of our bow, and then here is our actual bow. So you can see that I left a little bit of fabric here at the end. This is where we have to stuff the bow with poly stuffing, and then I'm actually not going to hand sew this. I am going to use fusible tape. So this is really great and easy project. Way of sealing bows or bags if you don't want to hand sew them. So we're going to use this at the end. I'm going to go ahead and stuff this. Okay, so we've got our bow all together, and let's go ahead and piece this together. So I'm going to take one of these sides off. I did sew the back of this bow, but I left it detached from the main part of the bow so I can slide it on and off the headbands. Okay, do some final adjustments here. All right, great. Would you look at that? It is all complete. So we do have one last part of our project, and that is to make the Bo Peep coordinating lanyard. So let's get started with that one. Okay, so for this part of the project, we are going to be making that keychain or lantern or whatever you'd like to use it for. It does have a mouse ear figurine and then the Bo Peep coordinating pieces. So the materials that we're going to need is our 4x4 hoop. I have used the 2.5 ounce cutaway stabilizer. We have our variety of faux leathers that we're going to need and all of our threads. So let's get started. Alright, so we have our projects all finished. So today we made this really cute Bo Peep inspired mouse headband. We have the sheep here and the Bo Peep outfit and this really beautiful bow in the middle. Okay. Our second project that we completed today, also coordinating, is this Bo Peep lantern keychain. So I put my mouse keyring on there and just a little clasp so you can put it on a backpack, a purse, whatever you would like. So here are our two sets. I really hope that you enjoyed this fun and easy project today. If you liked the project, go ahead and smash that like button. Consider subscribing to our channel. And until next time, happy crafting!